Motherhood is challenging and rewarding, and it's time we discuss the truth about motherhood, our own feelings and desires, why we mom shame, and how we can start standing together. Motherhood is a lifetime of different phases, all while we are expected to manage the weight of life. It's time for us moms to not only help each other by giving a hand, but push each other to explore ourselves on our deepest levels. Welcome to the Mom Still Standing podcast. I'm your mom friend and host, Danielle Lewis. Each week, we will chat with a beautiful mom who is navigating motherhood and life in a special way. My goal, moms, is for us to understand we are more alike than we are different and that we shouldn't mom alone. So join us as we celebrate and honor motherhood. Now go grab your favorite beverage and let's dive in. Hey, mom friends. Welcome to this episode of the Mom Still Standing podcast. It is a beautiful Saturday afternoon here in North Carolina, and I am here with my dear friend, Janice Webb. Welcome, Janice.
Hi.
How are you today? What's it like in your neck of the woods this Saturday?
It is also beautiful here in Arizona.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Well, thank you so much for joining me. Looking forward to this conversation with you. And so let's go ahead and get started. So tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you have some young adult children, you're married, you're living out west.
Well, first, I have to say thank you to Danielle, the host, for having me on your podcast about moms. And so I know that's a very delicate subject that I know needs to be talked about. Yes, I am a mother of 3 adult children. I am married to my husband, who is a chaplain in the Air Force, as well as just a pastor at heart. And so if you want to give me the term First Lady, I am a First Lady as well.
Lady J, to be specific.
Okay, so that's another topic in itself.
Yes.
But yes, we are here currently stationed in Arizona. Love it here. One of the best assignments I can say that we have based upon just the weather. I know some people think it's hot all the time, but really it's not. It's not hot all the time. We live in the desert. The only complaint that I can say is that I pray I do not run into a rattlesnake. So I have been blessed so far. So as long as Jesus keep them away from me, I'll be okay.
Oh my goodness. So how old are your adult children?
Well, the oldest is 26. He's a male. The middle child is a girl, or I don't want to say girl anymore, but young lady. She is 24, and then the youngest is a male, and he's 20.
Wow. Yeah. So, wow, just hearing their ages, I just flash back to like the first time we met. It was like they were, were they teenagers?
I don't think quite yet teenagers.
Wow. Mm-mm. It's been a long time. Wow.
It's been a long time.
Wow. Yeah. So much has happened. Okay. So 3 maturing adults. And are they living with you or do they live outside the home?
Praise Jesus. I am an empty nester. I love my freedom. I love them, but I love my freedom. I love feeling like I have my own time. This has been a long time coming. I don't understand the wanting the young adults to be at home with you. I don't get that theory. That is not my theory. Bless his holy name. They are all living outside of my home. That I can't always say that was the case. They had to figure it out. And I think me disconnecting from helping them make their decisions, and also a remedy that I was given by a precious, dear friend, mom, mentor to me said once they turn 18, everything becomes uncomfortable. You give them a cot to sleep on, remove every dresser drawer, take down the pretty stuff out of their room, and I promise you, they will leave your home. Stop cooking for them. Listen, they are grown, no more babying them. And I promise you, they will not see home as home again, and they will want to go figure it out for themselves.
Now, that's a very interesting perspective. I am curious. You said a mom told you this or a dad told you this?
Yes, she did. A mother told me
so that in itself makes me really wonder about the way we generally see moms journeying with their young adult children, especially when they're home. And I say that because a lot of times you always hear the dad saying, "Oh, 18, he got to go. He can't stay up in here." And usually we're cringing like, "No, that's my baby," crying when they go off to college. But for you to have embraced this perspective and to hear kind of like you making them the ways that we would make them uncomfortable is like, wow. I'm wondering if we're doing this wrong.
I think that the new generation is doing it wrong because our parents, they left the home when they turned 18, whether they went to go stay with another relative, they joined the military, you name it, they became self-sufficient. And I love the term self-sufficient, but I also love the term self-efficacy. So,
can you explain the difference?
Yes. How about this? I'll explain self-efficient. I think you have to have self-efficacy before you actually become self-efficient. Self-efficacy means that you set a goal for yourself and you accomplish that goal. You figure it out. You don't continue to go back to the place that seems easy and have others to figure it out for you. As you know, we spoke or just in the intro about what I love and who I am at this part of my life is I love psychology. I love the self-study.
Right, because you're currently in school right now. What are you studying?
This time I'm studying because, you know, everybody gets to go to college and change their major all the time. However, I have chosen to press forth with my journey in becoming a licensed professional counselor. It kind of just gives me a broader study versus marriage and family licensed counselor or therapist, or either licensed clinical social worker. I chose to go with licensed clinical professional counselor, and all of them will end up in the same place. It's just the different types of studies that you might end up going through to get to that. But I have learned through my studies is that self-efficacy is where you set a goal yourself. In adulting, we should be teaching our young people how to set goals. They might not even know what the goal is because dad may say, 18, you're out, dude. Well, dad, you just can't say 18 years out.
But they do.
Yes, they do. You got to give them some type of guidance, some choices. And I believe that's where we all have to figure some things out in life. We might not like the choices that our parents made. You know, I tell you, I know a lot of people have great controversy about the Cosby Show. But if you take away just the recent things in the last several years that we've learned about him and go back and watch the Cosby shows like you did before you knew this stuff about him,
right?
There was a lot of parenting psychology going on, a lot of it. Because I remember when he said to Vanessa, no, you're not rich. Your mother and I are rich. And so we today make our kids think they are rich. They haven't worked for nothing. They don't know what it took to get it. And so you're setting them up for failure. That's why they think that money grows on trees. That's why they're going to keep coming and asking you for money. That's why, because you hand it out like it grows on trees.
Yeah,
And
but
it does
we a
not.
lot of times feel like, well, I have to give my kids what I didn't have, and I want my kids to have a better life than I did, and then don't have a divorce. Then we're really compensating for, the loss because of the divorce. What do you say about that? That mentality and the reason why we tend to give our children everything.
I love that question because even I did that. However, it's going to backfire on you because you never raise children out of guilt. If you raise your children out of guilt, then you put them in a position to be manipulative. And once they're in the place to be manipulative, there's this mind game going on between you and your child. And most times the kid is going to win because you now have set the standard to raise your child out of guilt. Children feed off of guilt. They feed off of it.
That's so good.
They know you feel bad. They know you feel bad. They even feel bad. But guess what? You're gonna be punished for the decision that you made to not be with my father.
Wow. So I got to pause right here. So you brought up guilt, and we're hearing a lot more these days about mom guilt. What are we to do? What are we to do with those feelings that we have, and is what we are really feeling? Because I have felt guilty about some things. Is what we are really feeling? Is that really guilt, or is that just another feeling, but we haven't named it correctly?
Well, the name is called mommy selfishness.
Okay.
That's the name it should be called. Because when we think about what is termed mommy guilt, we feel bad about something. Mm-hmm. And so because we feel bad about something, we then want to fix it so we don't feel bad. Ooh. So what is that? Selfishness. So you're really not looking out for your child. You're looking out for your own feelings.
Okay, let me move my feet because you just stepped all on my toes. Okay, all on my toes. Wow, that's
sorry,
so
Mom.
Sorry, moms.
Sorry, Mom.
Wow.
So then the next question, I guess, is if I feel bad, why do I feel bad? You should ask yourself. I feel like you should ask yourself that question. Maybe you did make a mistake. Maybe you were not there. Maybe you even caused the divorce. Maybe you just wasn't taught. Find out what it is instead of becoming the victim of the situation and then having the guilt because you're looking in the beautiful eyes of your child and then you are serving them off of what you did not get or what you feel as if you're trying to compensate. So the child doesn't come out then developing a relationship based off of guilt or based off of what they are not getting. Mm-hmm. So I think we're teaching our children as they are watching. What is so amazing is that if you were to be in the eyes of a child or the mind of a child, they don't see things the way we do because they don't have the definition and the vocabulary for it.
Right.
So they have to figure this thing out on their own. So when they are looking and watching our behavior, it's almost like a dog or a pet. They say that most pets, they go off of your feelings. People say, oh, they listen to me. They really don't hear nothing you're saying. They're just amazingly wired that way to go off of your feelings.
I agree with that.
Go off. Yes. Not only that, it is a study that shows that dogs are able, like if you are feeling anxiety, there is sweat glands that come out of your pores that tells your dog that you are having anxiety.
Oh, wow. That's incredible.
It is.
But then I
So
guess
they're not
even with that, then the dog or the pet has the ability to ease your anxiety.
right, but that's where I think we go wrong.
Okay.
I've noticed, and it's very disheartening to me. And I did it. I did it when I was I was in high school, and I got pregnant. And when the doctor told me that I was pregnant, I was happy because I was in a sad situation. My father, who to me is every girl's hero, was dying. He was dying from multiple strokes, and he had a big one and never recovered from that. So we knew it was just a matter of time that he was going to pass because he was just quickly deteriorating. And then, I met my first, wasn't my husband at the time, but we ended up getting pregnant with the first child. And with that happening, I just felt like I had to turn to something or somebody that was going to love me. And I knew that that child that I was carrying was going to love me. And for that reason, I believe that we are bringing children into situations to fill voids. And that's not a good thing. That's not a good thing because a child can't fill a void, a void that was already there.
Right.
And so to say that that child brings comfort, yeah, God can use the child to bring comfort through situations because they're just loving and they're just, they're innocent. But I just believe that they're supposed to be needing from us, and we're supposed to be giving and giving to them, and not necessarily they're constantly we're feeling like the child is giving to us based upon our unfinished business from childhood.
Wow. You said a mouthful. And I don't even know where to go from there. I want to go so many different places. I want to go so many different places, but I want to get back to us journeying with our young adult children. And one of the things you mentioned was that you have learned how to disconnect from helping them make decisions. Why is that an important step for us as parents? And at what age do you think that we need to learn how we need to start disconnecting from helping them make decisions?
13.
13?
Yes, ma'am.
Please explain, because 13, they're still in the house with us.
Exactly. That's when it should start. It shouldn't start. By the time they're 18, it's too late. Because then you look like, well, Junior, I'm going to need you to go. He's looking at you like, where do you think I'm going? Disconnect? Why am I going to disconnect from you? I don't know nothing.
So what do you mean when you say disconnect from?
Well, disconnect from our resources. Disconnect from we figuring it out for them. Disconnect from we making the choices for them. I love to see 2-year-olds. I mean, God has already built it inside of us to disconnect from our parents. Parents just don't want to admit it. When your 2-year-old says, I'm not wearing that, when they say, no, let me do it.
Well, it makes us feel, maybe not at 2 years old, but maybe at 14 or 15, when your child starts becoming more vocal about their choices and their decisions, or just you see them developing their own mindset. For me, I know that made me feel like I wasn't needed. Like it created a feeling of, I don't know if inadequacy is right, but it just made me feel like, oh, well, wait a minute. And then, I know in the Black culture, we then have this way of, well, I'm your mama. I'm always going to be your mama. So we pull the parent card without realizing that it's healthy that your child is actually evolving into their own person and learning how to make their own decisions and learning how to think critically on their own. And no one has taught us how to maneuver in this space and how to let that happen organically without feeling like, I don't know what the feeling is. Maybe you can tell me, but without us having that feeling, like I had to learn that, but I learned it, on probably almost when my youngest son was like 19 and he was like, Ma, I'm 19, So the fact that you're bringing that up, I don't feel like we're taught how to maneuver in that space when our parenting should be shifting, and we don't know how to shift as our children are evolving and coming into teenagehood or even young adulthood.
Yeah, unfortunately, in the Black community, that is because of fear. Mothers, young men, and daughters were ripped from their arms. And so, because our ancestors have raised us out of fear of losing a child or losing their child, they didn't have the opportunity to teach their child and say, go forth, my son or my daughter, and fly. So I know and believe that that has a lot to do with our ancestors, our culture. However, now that we know better and we're not, or maybe we don't know better, like you said, we were not taught, that's where we have to find people who have successfully done this. And let me tell you something. Michelle Obama said something one day when they were in office. And it's funny, I said when they were in office because she was in there with him. Okay.
Right.
I love what she said. The question came about with her daughters. And as a Black woman, I listened. My ears went up because she said something I don't hear most Black mothers say. She had no fear when she said it. She said, what does it say about me as a mother if my daughters, by the time of 18, are not ready to go off and figure it out for themselves? She says, after I have poured everything into them and they leave, as a mother, we're supposed to feel good about that. That inadequacy is saying, I didn't do all I was supposed to do.
Oh, so that's probably why I was feeling that way as my sons were evolving and coming to their own thinking. It was like, wait a minute.
Right. However, but then you got to look at yourself and say, maybe I did. Maybe I did. Instead of looking at that you didn't. Because let's be real and honest. Our children, I know even in our circle, they even though there might have been some disappointments in regards to divorce, they really did come up in sheltered homes. They had roofs over their head. They had good food. They played sports. They did all those things. Does all that matter? Or do you have you have children who did not have that? I mean, I have sat in counseling sessions where grown adults who told their stories as children and they had none of that. They were abandoned by their parents, by their mother, the one that was supposed to nurture them, or either they were abused by the one that was supposed to nurture them. And they had to figure it out pretty early on in age how to become self-efficient, where they had to figure it out. If I don't do this, I'm going to die. If I don't, do that, I'm not going to make it. And they saw some very low places. They've been in some very low places. But they come out to be very successful with materialistic things. So the question is, what really matters? So is it the things that we give our children, or is it the things that we teach our children? So I believe that teaching them from the moment to become self-efficient is actually it's a win-win for them as well as a win for ourselves. Instead of feeling inadequate. And I believe inadequacy then leads to fear.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So the fear, I think, is the thing that really takes over. Then I also realized that it's not always fear, it's the anxiety. Fear is actually, let's say, for instance, if a dog, a German Shepherd, is barking and you see his teeth and you see the saliva coming from his mouth and you standing only 5 feet away, that's fear.
Oh, yeah, I'm scared.
Okay, I'm scared. Your body is meant to say, fight or flight.
Right.
However, anxiety is what we cannot see. So we have anxiety about the future. We have anxiety. Is my child going to be okay? Is my child going to be on the street? If I don't give him no money, what's going to happen to him or her? That's anxiety because we don't know what's going to come next.
Right.
It's not necessarily fear. It's the anxiety.
And so how... Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say anxiety is the unknown.
So then, as we were talking about parenting young adults, because those are very real situations, our young adult children get in situations, they need money, they may need a place to stay, their car may break down, and whether it's the first time it happens or if it's the 25th time that happens, how do we as parents manage that anxiety instead of always just giving in? And because I feel like we end up, like after the fourth time, we're enabling them. We're not teaching them what we need to be teaching them. So how do we manage that anxiety instead of always giving in? Because no is a complete sentence.
I think they're going to be your best teacher. They're going to keep disappointing you, and they're going to keep asking you for money. And then eventually you get sick of it. They're going to be your best teacher since you don't want to learn the first time. Or the third. Or the fourth.
And we talked about this because men are totally different when it comes to that. And I'm still trying to understand, is it because we as women are more emotional and men, men make up their mind and it's like, nope, not doing it? Or is it because men know that as our children, especially our boys, encounter these situations, they will learn from it and they will figure it out. Whereas, like you said, we're more on the side of fear and anxiety. And it's like, let me just do this for them.
I think they're wired differently. I mean, if the truth be told, I think men have a great ability to be leaders. Leaders standing in the forefront without putting their emotions, knowing how to separate their emotions of fear and anxiety and knowing what needs to be done. I think they still have the same emotions. They just know how to separate them from the task at hand. They're not driven always or majority of the time by their emotions. And unfortunately, as women, we want emotional men.
Girl, that's about to be a separate podcast right there. Wow.
We want emotional men, and we're doing them a disjustice in wanting emotional men because it's not saying that it's something wrong with them when they show their emotions, but they really are having to give in to showing their emotions for us, for women, versus being able to, and I think it comes in time. I really know it comes in time. Men begin to soften as they get older. But that's even, I think about when you go back and read a text, when I think about Paul the Apostle, when you go back and you read a text when he first got on the scene and became Paul, he was just boisterous. And I mean, that joker didn't play.
Right.
He was hardcore. Like, if you ain't with me, you ain't with me, deuces. But when he was in prison, close to death, many years later,
understanding,
he was
gracious.
Exactly.
Right.
Gracious. And so with men, I do believe that there's a timing that needs to take place in building. So building a child, building that man, building that son, there needs to be a separation. And I believe that's where the mother comes in. Mothers do nurture. We're supposed to nurture. I see now why and how God organically wanted the child to have mother and father. For that very reason. Unfortunately, in our culture, our men were snatched from us. And unfortunately, I do know that I believe in slavery, they knew the benefit to having both mother and father raise a child.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that support system and needing to help the child become whole,
Mm-hmm.
the child learning from the father, the child learning from the mother. I just know that the father has his place, especially when it comes to males. My oldest, I had to step back because he was born with kidney failure. And for that reason, when his father and I divorced, I was the what do you call it? The when it's the prominent parent that's there.
Oh, the custodial parent.
Yes, I was the custodial parent. So for that reason, he was always being nurtured by me, and he was a pretty good kid too. So it wasn't like I needed to discipline him for certain things. He was really he just didn't get into a lot of trouble or anything of that. But I still see where he needed his father around to help mold him as a male. And so for that reason, when I saw a young male who possibly had worry or fear that turned into anger, I nurtured it. And fathers don't nurture that. They don't nurture that. So when you nurture it, it just becomes a big monster. And then you're wondering, well, this is not the child that I raised.
Right.
Yeah. Because you nurtured a behavior instead of helping that child to deal with that emotion. What are you feeling? What is truly going on? Where I could not understand that it might have been anger or whatever the emotion was, where the father, being a male, could have seen that this is what's going on with him.
Right.
So.
And that goes back to the importance of children being raised by both father and mother. Well,
yes. Unfortunately, you have so many situations where that is not going to be.
Right.
So I can say that whoever the guardian is, even if it's grandma that's raising the child, go and find a mentor. Find a mentor, find someone that is going to be able to help that child, because it only takes one person to help a child become resilient. Just one.
Speaking of resilient, you had an event a few years ago called Resilient in Pink. So tell us a little bit about your vision for it and just the impact that event had on the women that were in attendance.
Resilient in Pink, I never liked the color pink. That's what's so interesting, how I came up with Resilient in Pink. I never was a girl that liked pink. However, I was willing to sacrifice what I didn't like to make a statement. And pink, of course, everybody says they have different colors, but let's just say universal. Pink is known for what? A girl.
Right.
If you go to a baby shower and the mom is having a girl, what do? You overload her with pink.
Yeah.
So that's really what it came from. I thought it through about the pink thing. I'm going to have women that say, I don't like pink. Okay, well, guess what? When I say pink, you know what I'm talking about. So Resilient in Pink came from a situation that I was dealing with in my home that was pretty tough. It was tough. Wow, it was tough. It affected me as a parent. It affected me as a wife. It was hard. And I remember sitting in my rocking chair during that time. And when I tell you that we didn't know which direction to turn, my husband was under a lot of scrutiny, as well as he was having to deal with some professional issues. It just overlapped in my home. Well, I remember sitting in my rocking chair, and at that time, I just wanted to fall apart. I wanted to just give up. I really did. I had to think of, why do I just keep going on? Why? And I thought about being a female. I thought about being a mother. I thought about being a wife. I thought about my issues I've had as growing up as a girl, growing up as a sibling, just being a girl, period. And something within inside of me, I don't know, it was like this, I don't know, whatever the what was permeating on the inside just rose up inside of me like, you have been through worse. And to be truthfully honest, this ain't got nothing to do with you. So when you need to learn how to separate yourself from your spouse's issues, separate yourself from your children's issues, and be the woman, the example that God has called you to be. I don't know whoever's watching this podcast or listening to this podcast, they might not even know Jesus. They might not even know God. But because he's made you a female, he has put things within inside of your DNA, inside of your, I don't know if you have a womb, you don't have a womb. And I say that to say because every woman they don't bear children.
Right.
So with inside of every fiber of your being, there is something about you as a female that is able to stand the test of time and be resilient and get through what you need to get through with helping your household. Sometimes helping your household means that you need to just step back and let God. So my husband would say sometimes to me, honey, I just need you to pray, which means shut up, would you? I don't need your advice. Hurt my little feelings. I ain't gonna pray for you. Oh, you don't want to hear my voice. Okay, I must be right. No, he just said, could you go pray somewhere? Anywho,
goodness.
Go pray, sister girlfriend. I mean, even if you don't know what to say, just keep saying his name. If that's your husband, if your husband, your child, your boyfriend, I don't know. It worked for me. And it worked for my father. When my father didn't have, I was a rambunctious kid and teenager, meaning my father was a pastor. I was sneaking out of the house trying to find somebody's party to go to. Lord help me. One time I came home and the cops was there. He done called the sheriff on me and me and my sister. And I remember my father praying. I woke up in the middle of the night and I heard him just saying my name over and over. Janice, 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 Janice. Oh, Janice, 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 Janice. He just kept saying my name. Sometimes in the midst of those storms, if that person is in their own warfare, they're in their own trial, their own tribulations. Yes, you're going to be affected because there's love there. There's connection there. You're under the same roof, or you might not even be on the same roof with your child. Just call their name out. Leave them with the Lord. Leave them. And so that you might not have any words to say, but that's where the Holy Spirit intercedes for us. But however, Resilient and Pink came from that moment. And because God has blessed me to be a visionary, I got a team together and they helped me run with the vision. And we got ladies together from all over, different churches, different backgrounds. And, in Resilient and Pink, there were a few things that I wanted to focus on. And one of them was failure. One of them was guilt. And the other was shame. So those three things I wanted to deal with because I believe that if we don't deal with those things, we cannot be resilient. The sunlight can't come in. The water that needs to water us will not come in. So we block a lot of our nutrients because we hold on as women. We hold on to failures. We hold on to guilt. We hold on to shame.
Wow, that's so powerful. And so what, that was a couple years ago. What was the feedback from the women that attended? How did it impact their lives? Because when you talk about guilt and shame, that's a lot of what we struggle with. And a lot of times we're struggling silently and by ourselves with it. Yeah.
Danielle, I'm so glad that you said that. I just had a conversation with my husband. And I said to him, I'm a little bit disappointed in the body of Christ, especially amongst pastors and first ladies, because what's the big secret? What is the big secret? We're all probably going through some of the exact same things.
Yes. Yes.
So nobody's willing to have the hard conversation. Nobody's willing to, and then it shows up on Twitter or Facebook that Pastor such and such cheated on his wife. Come on, if we had already had these conversations in the room,
true story,
with other leaders, the help. I mean, to me, if you have an answer, share the answer.
Yes.
But we want to walk around in pride and in guilt and in shame and causing or calling it failure. So because of our failures, we don't want other people to know what we're going through. Where it's like, I don't think we need to bash, oh, well, my husband did this, and then the next woman, honey, he did the same thing to me. And then we just have a feast over how bad the person is. And then we all could be a part of a group that feeds our struggles, but that's not the case. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, why can't we have the conversation? Why are we so shame-ridden that we can't have the conversation?
Well, I feel like that's what Resilient in Pink was. It was creating the platform for women to be open to having these conversations about failure and guilt and their shame.
Yes. As a matter of fact, when I still hear some of the testimonies that are going on, and it was several years ago, the testimonies are that women left there who were hiding, who were not walking in their purpose, who knew they were leaders in the church, now are running Bible studies. I mean, women who have stepped up and not just running Bible studies, but walking in the call and who God has called them to be. It was a freedom to be able to do that, or to be in that midst and knowing that I'm holding on to this baggage and I need to let it go. And that was from the consensus in the room, that is what we got. Let it go. Why are you still holding on to it?
And
what purpose is it serving?
What did you do at the end of the event to help women let it go?
Something that one of the team members gave, I think, a great example of letting it go. What we did was we, for the event, for decorations, of course, we had balloons just blown up all over. And so each woman was given a balloon, and she wrote on a piece of paper that was taped to the balloon. And so after the event, we closed out by praying, and each woman had her balloon, and we walked outside and released. Now, what is so interesting is this. One of the balloons would not fly. It got stuck underneath the area where you pull your car up to the hotel, because it was at a hotel conference room. And when the balloon released, everybody's balloon released at the same time, but this one particular balloon just did not want to go up into the sky.
Then he didn't want to be let go.
And I love how one particular lady said, "That's my balloon." She said, "I know it's mine."
She had the courage to say that. Wow.
She had the courage because she said on the inside, she knew she had not released.
Oh, wow.
She was just walking through the motions. And because God allowed that balloon, even if it wasn't hers, God allowed that balloon to get stuck as if it wasn't moving nowhere. But I believe it was hers, because the moment she opened her mouth and admitted that she was not willing to let go, and that she knew that she needed to, at that moment, admit it, That balloon was released.
Oh, that's so powerful.
It was released. And I think that's another part of it. It's okay to say I failed. It's okay to say I failed as a woman. I failed as a mother. I just failed as a person. It's okay. I think once you acknowledge it and then look at what is it that you believe caused you to fail at this, and then find some other choices, some other resources, some other ways in getting past that or moving on to the next level, I believe that's where life will begin again.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. That is so very powerful. And I know that to be true because in my life, when I have made the choice, when I was tired of holding certain things and I released it, it's like just this rebirth came in that area of my life. And so I like that. This has just been so enriching. What do you want to leave our mom audience with before we go?
Stop making it all about you. Yeah. Once you become a mom, yes, you are the mother, but it's okay to not have the answers. It's okay. What makes you powerful is when you go find the answers, direct your children to the right answers, trust the whole A-team. I call them the A-team, God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Trust the A-team. I was just thinking earlier this morning about why do I have such a peace right now in my life about my children? I can't tell you where their whereabouts are right now. I know where they live, but really, do I know exactly where they are right this moment? Absolutely not. But when they were in my house, you couldn't go but so far. Where you at?
Right.
You quiet in there. And I had this thought because when I was getting my nails done yesterday, and there was a mom on my right hand and her little daughter who looked like she was about 5 on my right side, and mom was on the left side. And mom just kept looking over at that little girl. Okay, she kept looking over at the little girl. And I thought to myself, the little girl is right here beside you. Ain't nothing gonna happen to her. Oh, mom, learn to trust the A-team. Because what I realize now is that, like someone said to me before, they were not mine. They were just trusted to go through my birth canal to get here.
Wow. Oh, this has just been so powerful, so very powerful. And it makes me realize the power of connecting with women like yourself, because we have so much to share and we have so much to give and so much to learn from each other. That's something we shouldn't be afraid to do, is learn from each other. I have learned so much, and I know my mom audience has as well, and we will definitely have you back again. So thank you so much for joining me today and sharing your wisdom and knowledge. And thank you to all the moms listening. So that's it for now. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next week on the next episode of the Mom Still Standing podcast. Peace. Thank you, moms, for tuning into this week's episode of the Mom Still Standing podcast. Make sure you head over to iTunes and subscribe. If you found this episode to be informative and encouraging, please write a review so that we can continue to empower moms everywhere. In the meantime, remember, connected moms don't mom alone.